I know that this is a vastly different conference experience from what we're used to. And normally about this time, we would be coming together. We would have just sat down at a table in a big ballroom, and we'd be looking around to see our friends and our colleagues. And maybe we carpooled to the conference or came in a school van with our coworkers. Well, I'm here to reassure you, we are doing everything in our power to give you a great conference experience, even though it will be a different one, like a 2020 version of one that uses technology. Many of the same features of our in-person conferences are still here, but they just look a little different and will be accessed in a different way. We are utilizing the chat during these plenary sessions, so if you have questions, please type them into the chat. So, welcome to the annual Nebraska Get Connected Statewide After School Conference. My name is Jan Handa, and I am the state coordinator for the 21st Century Community Learning Center program. Along with the Nebraska Department of Education, we're one of the conference organizers and will be your navigators throughout today. The other organizers include 4-H Extension and Click to Science PD, who will be helping you navigate Thursday's sessions, and Beyond School Bells, who will guide you through a very special day on Friday, focused on entrepreneurship and a youth marketplace. And you will not want to miss the closing session at 6 p.m. on Friday, The Science of Cocktails. The organizers have collaborated on an annual after-school conference since 2005, but this year is our first venture into using a virtual platform. I want to personally thank each and every member of the planning committee who have worked tirelessly to put this event together. And I want to thank each of you for going on this journey with us. We hope you come away feeling inspired, informed, and uplifted. The organizers especially want to recognize the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation and thank them for their generous support in providing us the virtual platform that we'll be using these next 3 days. We'd also like to thank Verizon, the Nebraska Environmental Trust, STEM Next, and the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services for their generous financial support of this year's conference. Later in this plenary session, you'll learn how to get around and find things on the conference website. For our conference regulars, we're happy to tell you that the statewide organizations who set up those tables and displays in what we called the walk and talk area, they also took a leap of faith and came along with us and you on this journey. We tried really hard not to leave anybody behind. The conference sessions have been organized into 6 E themes: emotional health and wellness, equity and inclusion, engineering mindset, entrepreneurship, environmental and outdoor education, and elevating programs. We encourage you to participate in as many live sessions as your schedule permits over these 3 days. In addition, you can choose from over 40 on-demand videos that will be available at your convenience until October 16th. These are the recorded breakout sessions. One of the themes of the conference is equity and inclusion. Although we knew we could not afford his speaking fee, the planning committee strongly felt that the message in his audiobook, The Other Wes Moore, would really connect with our informal educators and program leaders. So we decided the conference registration fee would include the free audiobook, which is narrated by Wes Moore. It's about 2 boys who grew up in Baltimore and had similar backgrounds, and who coincidentally were both named Wes Moore. One grew up to be a Rhodes Scholar, a decorated veteran, a White House Fellow, and a successful business leader. The other Wes Moore ended up a convicted murderer serving a life sentence. Over the next days or weeks or even months, we encourage you to make the time to listen to the book or consider incorporating it into a book study with your staff. In the conference program, we've included resources on how to start a book club. We hope The Other Wes Moore is a starting point to begin or deepen discussions with your after-school staff about race, diversity, and the role that poverty plays in the lives of so many of the students and families we serve. The other very strong message from this book that I think will resonate with our after-school staff and program leaders is the critical role that caring adults can play in a child's life. So many of you are those caring adults. So let's get the conference started. We're pleased to introduce you to our first speaker today. Since 2005, Jody Grant has been Executive Director of the After School Alliance, a nonprofit public awareness and advocacy organization working to ensure that all children and youth have access to quality, affordable after-school programs. The After School Alliance seeks to educate the public, the media, and policymakers about the enormous potential of quality after-school programs. It organizes national and local after-school events, including the organization's signature event, Lights On After School. Prior to joining the After School Alliance, Jody served as Director of Work and Family Programs for the National Partnership for Women and Families. In that position, she worked to protect and expand the Family and Medical Leave Act and was a member of the team that successfully defended the law before the US Supreme Court. Prior to that, she worked on Capitol Hill as General Counsel to the Senate Budget Committee and as Staff Director for a Senate committee. Her legislative accomplishments include expanded support for the Child Tax Credit, the Child Health Insurance Program, and class size reduction. She also served as liaison to the National Governors Association, where she worked closely with Republican and Democratic governors. Jody graduated from Yale University with honors and was elected senior class president. She received her law degree from Harvard University, where she was also elected class president. As a student, she volunteered in an after-school program. Please join me in welcoming Jody Grant.
Thank you so much, Jan, and good morning, Nebraska. Good morning, everyone. Thumbs up, can you hear me okay? All right, yes, yay, okay. I'm really honored to be here with all of you, and Jan said it, as we look at COVID, and I have a national perspective on it, and what it's been doing to, the world as we know it, the one thing that continues to amaze me is our field and how the after school field has put children and families and communities front and center and literally jumped through hoop after hoop to make sure that we can serve kids as best possible. So I am really proud to be here with all of you. I'm really proud to advocate for the work that you do every day. And I'm gonna go through some highlights, but I wanna say the most important thing is, we work very closely with Jeff Cole, who is terrific, your state network lead. But let us know how we in Washington can best serve you through policy, through advocacy, what your needs are. With that, I'm just going to jump in. Next slide, please. So prior to COVID, we were really seeing a tremendous growth in the power of after school and the research we had in after school. In federally funded after school programs, we had 1.7 million kids being served every single day in over 10,000 centers all across America. And these are just some, some stats. All of this will be available to you on where the program was. And while we are super proud of the program, we know that for every kid that was in a program, there were 2 more whose parents wanted a program, but it was not available. Next slide. As I mentioned, we have more and more data, even longitudinal research that shows that after-school programs make a difference. This is something we all know, with 80% of our kids spending their time outside of school, and that was prior to COVID. Now with some of them, it's 100% of their time. We were seeing after-school programs make a huge difference in math and language arts grades, in homework completion, class participation, behavior, and the piece that's not even on here that is most important, all of the positive youth development that are really helping with those non-academic social emotional skills that you're going to be talking about later. Next slide. I thought I'd be remiss if I didn't specifically point out that we have data for the great state of Nebraska, where there are over 57,000 children in after-school programs, or there were prior to COVID. Nebraska is one of the leading states when it comes to programming like STEM in the after-school space. Next slide. So once COVID hit, as I said, our after-school field was tremendous, really jumping through hurdles to address the needs of our kids and our families. And one of the things that has been remarkable to me is how many people, when they hear about after school and our needs during COVID, say, well, if school's not in session, why do you need after school? And of course, the answer to that is we need after school more than ever. And as important as it is for our kids and our families, our after school programs are absolutely essential to the economic recovery of our country. If we want our businesses to be able to reopen, our kids need to be somewhere where they can learn, where they're safe, particularly for schools that are closed or schools with staggered schedules. And we need to make sure that, our poor kids, many of them have been isolated for 6 months plus. Virtual learning doesn't mean that you have to be on your own without any support. So we have watched after school program after after school program, whether it's virtual, hybrid, or in person, really trying to create places where kids can be safe and learn, and where parents can work, whether they're going physically into work or whether they're working virtually from home. Next slide. So one of the things we've been trying to do, and we've now been in the field twice, is, as I said, get a sense of what's happening in our field. What are the needs of the community? What does after school look like around the country? And so we just finished our second survey, which was August 4th through 18th, and I'm going to share the results with you now. Next slide. So the saddest part is that as we enter the fall, we are seeing that for kids of means, programs are open. All across the country, we're seeing whether parents are creating what they're calling pods, where they're hiring teachers or college students or other tutors to work with a group of kids, or all sorts of private facilities opening up for kids to have virtual learning with tutors and enrichment. While that opportunity is there for higher income kids, many of the after school programs that serve low income kids are not physically open. And that's really troubling to us, because we know before COVID, there were a host of inequities that we tried to address during after school, and those inequities are only growing. Next slide. To some degree, and this is actually good news, 21st century programs are more likely to be operating than other programs, but the bad news is that many of these programs are based in schools and they're not being allowed in the schools right now. So even if the schools are closed, the 21st century programs cannot operate there. And that's really a shame. It is not the case everywhere. We have places like Madison, Wisconsin, where they have literally opened the schools and given school buses to after school programs so that they can serve the kids that are in a virtual learning session. I hope we can replicate that. I know in Nebraska, and one of my slides will get to it, you have created some really great models of using public spaces and private spaces, churches, parks and recs, libraries, museums, to host what we call pods of kids or hubs of kids, where it's a small group of kids with one or two instructors that remains in that tight-knit group, but can actually learn with each other. Next slide. So, this is just one more slide to really highlight these growing inequities that are exacerbated. And, this is top of mind right now to the After School Alliance. We feel like for the kids that need it, there needs to be in-person services. For the kids that can learn at home or in another environment, great, but we have far too many kids that need to be somewhere and be somewhere safe. And we have a host of research, a lot of it coming out of the American Camp Association, the YMCA, about how programs can operate safely. And one of the things we have found is that many of the programs that are operating, whether it was over the summer or whether it is into the fall or serving essential childcare workers, if they follow safety protocols, they can absolutely keep COVID at the door. And in the cases where somebody's exposed to COVID or somebody gets COVID, they can shut down a small group without shutting down the entire facility. Next slide. So, one of the things we're hearing loud and clear from all of you is that this is really hard. It's really hard to figure out how to operate. New restrictions make it really hard to operate. As I like to say, the biggest challenge we have are space. And as we saw, a lot of the public schools where we operate our programs are not allowing programs to operate, even those that are, because of physical distancing, we cannot serve the same number of kids in the same space, so we need more spaces. We need more staff to serve kids because the ratios have to be a lot smaller with the same staffers, with the same group of kids for public health concern. We need more professional development and training. We need PPE and cleaning supplies, and we need more resources. Plus, we need more curriculum to, with socially distanced and virtually learning successful curriculum. So this is really tough, and we know it's tough on programs, and we're doing everything we can to earmark some of the federal COVID dollars to go into after school and to try and get additional dollars into after school. And I should say, to date, we know that about 450 million of the COVID dollars from child care and governor's funds have gone into after school, which is terrific. We also know that some of those PPP loans have supported after school programs, but it's not enough. Next slide, please. So, as I said, this field continues to absolutely amaze me. After school providers are doing everything they can to meet the needs of our kids, literally touching base by Zoom, by telephone, porch visits, and from the 21st century providers that we talk to, only 5% are completely closed. So most of our programs are operating and serving kids, whether it's a hybrid of physical and virtual, whether it's virtual or whether it's physically open. Next slide. Again, these are some of the things programs are doing. I would say, across the board, we are seeing programs really try to make sure kids know that they are heard, that they matter, listening to the concerns of them and their families and their needs. And what we're also seeing is that while many of, I mentioned, our programs are not physically open, they are connecting with youth and making sure that in these really challenging, scary times, they know that there's an adult out there that cares about them. Next slide. So one of the things we're seeing this fall is more and more programs are opening up. Again, nowhere near to meet the need, but what's deemed essential workers is growing. And what we saw in the spring was about 18% of our programs had pivoted to serve the kids of essential workers. It's now up to 27% of after school programs, which is huge. So if you want to think about who is touching the kids right now in person, particularly in places where the schools are closed and all virtual, it's us. Next slide. And of course, this is no surprise to all of you. I think that, many parents thought of after school programs as a lifeline, that we're really opening up doors for their kids. And the appreciation for the role of what after school providers and teachers do for our kids has grown immensely as parents are struggling to try and replicate a lot of that on their own. Next slide. All right, so I just wanted to quickly highlight, and I should have Nebraska first because you are one of the models that I use, all the time, which is how creative our programs have become. So, oh, my cat, I was wondering, I can't see myself. I was wondering if my cat had jumped up here and you guys could see him. Thanks, guys. So in Missouri over the summer, we saw this great model where in one school district, the school was half day and the after school program was half day in person, and they split the kids back and forth. So you'd have a small group, let's say of third graders that went to the same after school instructor and the same school instructor, and were really able to help catch up. In Nebraska, in Lincoln, you guys have led the way in reaching out to faith-based organizations and other places for spaces to serve kids when the normal spaces that you use were shut down. In Alaska, we have some terrific models of STEM camps that were literally in STEM after-school programs. They can only serve a small fraction of the kids they normally serve because of public health constraints up in person. So they created literal kits that they could deliver to kids to do the lesson plans. And if the kids have internet access, they can zoom in and ask questions. And if they don't have internet access, there was instruction so they could do it as well. And then one of the things that I'm most excited about is, I think slowly, and we're trying to keep track of this, so I absolutely want to hear what you're all doing, creating hubs around the country where kids can go and do their school work virtually with a computer with some kind of tutor and support for their schoolwork, but also have hands-on enrichment throughout the day. And these hubs are being run by after-school providers going from 6 or 7 in the morning to 6 at night. Next slide. So this is where I need your help. So I thank you for all you're doing. And I would really love to hear what you're doing so that we can share those stories and use them to advocate for more resources for all of you. As I said before, we need more time, we need more space, we need more staff, we need more money. We need to leverage every community resource, and we have a blueprint that has all sorts of ideas of the types of places and partners, everything from historical societies to theaters, the types of resources and staffing, whether you're thinking about AmeriCorps, college students, volunteers. We have after-school programs that are hiring and training parents that have lost their jobs to help out right now, and really working on how we can get more of these federal funds to all of you to support the work you're doing during COVID now and as we gear back up, because our kids are missing a lot and we're going to need to catch them up once we can have whatever is our new normal. And also all sorts of toolkits on how to help you talk to your school district so they can recognize the value that after school can play now and as we go forward during COVID. Next slide. All of you should know that we have a host of resources on our website. So please use it. It's everything from how to get internet access to curriculum to talking points, to really helping spread the word about what we're doing so we can get more resources so we can serve more kids. And I think it's imperative right now that we are shouting out about what our programs are doing, because the kids we are touching, it is making more of a difference than ever. Next slide. And last but not least, I wanted to highlight Lights On After School, because the lights are still on. And even for programs that are operating virtually, this is a time when our work is more important than ever. And so we need to make sure the world, our country, our media sees it. So we have all sorts of models for virtual Lights On events. If you have an in-person program, even better, we can do that too. So I wanted to encourage you all to celebrate what you're doing on October 22nd, on or about, and really use this opportunity to make sure your community knows the difference that you're making, because that's how we're going to build more support for what we do. Next slide. And a little bit about, I'm assuming everyone knows Lights On After School, you may not. This is a real local opportunity to be part of a national event to celebrate what we do in after school. And whether we're lighting up the Empire State Building, which we've done multiple years, and I've even seen in person, to we've lit up Mount Rushmore in your next door state, extraordinary things to really shine a light on what after school does and the difference it makes in the lives of our kids, our families, and our communities. Next slide. So as I mentioned, we have opportunities to do this all virtual this year, and all of these materials are on our website, and like everything we do, free to you. So please go get our toolkit on afterschoolalliance.org/LOA.CFM. Grab the postcards, grab the emails, all of the different ideas we have so that you can do something special in your community. It's also a great time to bring together parents and kids and after school educators to really share, the struggles we've had and some of the huge successes we've had too. Next slide. So with this, I'm going to wrap up. I want to thank you all again. As I said, I am so proud to be an advocate for all of you. And in Washington, we are only as good as the field out there. So please let us know what you're doing so that we can share those stories, but also what you need, because our goal really is to work with federal policymakers and at a national level, share those best practices and resources so that you can do what you do every day and do it as well as possible. Thank you again. It's an honor to be with you all, and have a great day. And I'll stay by in case there's any time for questions at the end.
Thank you, Jody, for joining our conference today and telling us more about the really important work you do with the After School Alliance. We really appreciate your support of After School and you sharing your perspective at a national level. And we appreciate your kind words about Nebraska's after-school educators. We are all really ready and excited to celebrate Lights On After School across the state. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kim Larson. I work for the Nebraska Department of Education with the 21st Century Community Learning Center program, and I am a member of the Conference Organizing Committee. It is my pleasure to start by sharing information that will help you get the most out of your Get Connected conference experience. Next slide. After you sign in to the conference website using your email address, go to the Event Hub, which includes your profile, your events, the directory, and forum posts. Begin by creating your profile if you haven't done so already, including a photo. And once created, make your profile public so others can connect with you. Explore the directory and participate in discussions in the forum while in the Event Hub to communicate with other conference attendees and build your professional network. From the main conference webpage, you can access the exhibit hall featuring information from many of our Nebraska Partner Spotlight organizations. Exhibits include information about the organization, the important work they do supporting Nebraska after-school programs, as well as information on how to contact our fabulous partners. A unique feature of this year's conference is the virtual lounge. Take a virtual walk around the lounge, relax on the sofa while listening to your audiobook, The Other Wes Moore, and explore book club resources. While exploring the lounge, you can also learn more about our generous conference sponsors. From the main conference webpage, you will also be able to access the on-demand video library with a selection of over 40 recorded informational sessions and workshops organized by conference theme. Access to this library of resources will be available now through October 16th. A big thanks to all of the after-school experts who contributed to this library. Next slide. The schedule and event access page is designed to get you where you want to be during the conference. Click on any event in the schedule to get more information about the session and the presenters. When it is time to join a live session, just click on the session name in the schedule and you will go directly into the session. For your convenience, a complete downloadable program with additional conference information is also available on the Schedule and Events Access conference page. We are excited to let you know that there are live workshop sessions daily at 9:00 a.m., which is this session, the opening plenary session, 10:30 a.m., and 1:00 p.m. The live workshop sessions will be recorded and will be available to view after the conclusion of the conference. There is a hands-on workshop being offered each morning at 10:30. These workshops require pre-registration, a $10 fee, and include a kit of supplies that will be mailed to participants after the conference. There is still time to register. Go to the Schedule Event Hub if you're interested in joining those sessions, find the session you'd like to attend, click on the little dollar symbol next to the name of the session, and you will find the directions to register. You can register anytime for these sessions until the conclusion of the workshop. I'm really looking forward to joining the morning wellness sessions at 7:30 a.m. each morning of the conference. The Thursday morning session will be a live yoga session led by Mary Claire Sweet of Lotus House of Yoga. Video recordings of educator and youth yoga sessions will also be available in the on-demand video library that you can access at your convenience. Another unique feature of this year's Get Connected conference is the Friday Youth Marketplace. Be sure to join us to see what Nebraska's youth are imagining, creating, and marketing as young entrepreneurs. There's also a live social networking event each day, today and tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. and Friday at 6:00 p.m. Today's session, led by Anna Wishart, will include online games and group activities for team building. Thursday's session, led by Jessie Coffey, will include ideas for healthy snacks for your home and after-school program. Friday's session at 6:00 p.m., organized also by Anna Wishart, includes live music and a bartender who will provide instructions for mixing a specialty beverage. Visit the schedule for more information about these fun social networking events. Note that all times in the schedule are listed in Central Daylight Time. Next slide. If you have problems during the conference, visit the FAQ for directions. The link is located on the lower left portion of the conference webpage, or email tech support at any time during the conference. Next slide. Originally on our schedule at this time was Dr. Van Price with Lincoln Public Schools. She is the Director of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion with the district, but unfortunately the district has had an emergency and she is unable to join us this morning. We'll see if we can find another time to get some remarks from Dr. Price regarding equity, diversity, and inclusion. So, filling in for Dr. Van Price, we are really happy to let you know that Senator Anna Wishart, the Director of Partnerships with Nebraska Children and Families Foundation, is going to join us and share some thoughts about the important concepts of equity and inclusion. Thank you, Anna.
Well, hi, good morning, everybody. I hope you can hear me all right. Kim, can you hear me all right?
I can. Thank you so much for filling in.
Yes, of course. So, hi, everyone. I'm Anna Wishart. I wear kind of two hats. I'm a state senator here in Nebraska serving Lincoln, but I'm also director of partnerships for Beyond School Bells, which serves as Nebraska's after school and summer learning network. And we are one of the conference organizers, and we were really hoping that you would get a chance to connect with Van. She's an incredible leader in Lincoln, working with our community to ensure that every kid, regardless of their culture or their race or if they have a disability, or regardless of their gender, that they have equal opportunities in our community to grow and prosper. So we'll make sure that we have an opportunity to record her session, and so that you'll be able to connect with her because she has a lot of great things to say. But I'm going to fill in because Beyond School Bells, when we were planning this conference, we felt very intentional about the importance, especially this year, when you look at the COVID health pandemic, and even in Nebraska, how it has disproportionately impacted communities of color, especially our new American communities that work in the meatpacking facilities. And recognizing that the after-school space is a place where we can create more opportunities and reduce some of that opportunity gap that exists across our country and in our state for communities of color, but also for kids with disabilities and for young girls as well, especially in the STEM fields. And so we wanted to have a reoccurring theme across this conference to ensure that this is something as after school providers that when you go back to your community, you are thinking about what are the things that we are doing in terms of the sort of cultural relevancy curriculum that we are developing, what are the things that we're doing to ensure that our programs are accessible to kids with disability, what are the things that we're doing to support communities, for example, that are disproportionately impacted by pandemics or healthcare scares, or we've also seen some other flooding and natural disasters that have happened as well that again disproportionately have impacted low-income communities. So we think it's important moving forward in this year where we've had the entire country sort of highlighted the issues that we experience in terms of racial equity and racial justice. What are some of the things that we can do as community members and as after school providers to really lift up the voices of those vulnerable communities? And so because we don't have Van here, and she is really an expert in this space, I would like to have more of an interactive opportunity to hear from you in our chats. What are some of the things that you are doing as leaders in your community to help those who are part of vulnerable populations? So please chat that out into the chat box. We'd love to hear from you. And throughout this session and throughout the next few days, we would really encourage you to continue conversations about what we can do to support our community members and reducing the opportunity that exists for a lot of kids.
Anna, thank you so much, especially for joining this session at the last minute. We know you spoke from your heart. You didn't even have time to prepare any comments. So thank you for the important work you do every day and sharing your insights with us regarding equity and inclusion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next slide. It is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Christine Cunningham, who will speak about developing an engineering mindset. Dr. Cunningham is a professor of practice of education and engineering at Penn State University. Her work focuses on making engineering more relevant, inclusive, and equitable, especially for underserved and underrepresented populations. She does this by creating and researching engineering curricula that engage youth in socially engaged engineering practices. Thank you so much, Dr. Cunningham, for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited today to talk with you a little bit about engineering and engineering mindset. It's been such a challenging time that has required all of us to think innovatively and solve problems. And we're going to dive a little bit more into how we can help our youth do that today in this session. You'll be exploring some of these ideas in engineering mindset, I understand, more throughout the conference in subsequent sessions. So now more than ever, we need to create a generation of innovative problem solvers that can shape their world. One way to do this is to engage youth in engineering activities. I became interested in introducing engineering to young children over 20 years ago. At the time, engineering was rarely taught before college. I wondered why, because as I watched children interact with the world around them, I saw lots of evidence that they are engineers and problem solvers. But schools and after-school settings were not building on children's natural proclivities to design and problem solve. I decided I wanted to think about how to foster youth's engineering and problem solving abilities by introducing engineering into pre-K through 12 learning environments in both school settings and out of school settings. When I started thinking about early engineering education, it was quite a radical idea. I began by considering what aspects of engineering youth should understand. One important outcome of engineering activities is the development of an engineering mindset, the values, attitudes, and thinking skills that are associated with engineering. Could you please put that first slide up? Thank you. Developing an engineering mindset means that youth learn to think and approach problems as an engineer would. Instead of memorizing specific facts or techniques, youth engage in a systematic process that both celebrates innovative thinking and is rooted in science and math, testing, data-driven decisions, and considerations of implications and ethics. By engaging in the authentic work of engineers, youth come to develop facility with engineering ways of thinking. We don't know which problems our youth will face in 10 or 20 years, but we can educate them to face these with a mindset that will prepare them to tackle them. To help youth think like engineers, I needed to figure out what engineers did to create their new technologies and knowledge. From reading research about engineering and having conversations with practicing engineers, I distilled a set of engineering practices, and you see some of these on this slide. Practices are the kinds of patterned behavior that create new engineering knowledge and products. As youth become familiar and engage with these, they develop and strengthen an engineering mindset. We're going to focus on 10 engineering practices that youth should engage with as they engineer. I'll provide a very brief introduction to these today. Next slide. The core practice of engineering is problem solving. Engineers don't just solve problems willy-nilly. Instead, they use a systematic, iterative process that can be generalized into a series of phases called the engineering design process. There are many different instantiations of the engineering design process. They have different numbers of steps, and they're labeled with slightly different terms. You can choose one that's age appropriate to use with your youth. The named guideposts of the engineering design process help to communicate the purpose for the activity and scaffold youth through the problem solving they're going to be doing. Next slide. Another core practice of engineering is that engineering focuses on materials and their properties. Engineers need to investigate and consider materials' properties because these properties affect how materials can be used and which are best for certain kinds of tasks or designs. Materials all have properties. An object might be fuzzy, transparent, strong, malleable, shiny. These properties dictate how a material behaves. As engineers design solutions, thinking about which materials they can use is an important step. This is knowledge that youth develop over time and through interactions and manipulation of materials and the world around them. Next slide. Engineers also design solutions to specific real-world problems. They consider the context, background information, needs of the client, and implications of their solutions. Research shows that children, particularly girls and students from underrepresented groups, are more interested and motivated when they can connect their learning to the real world. Narratives and role models can help youth to see how the engineering work they are engaged in can help or impact people, animals, society, and the environment. Next slide. As engineers consider their designs in context, they identify the design specifications for their product. This helps them to understand whether their design is successful. They think about criteria, which are requirements that their design must meet, but they also need to consider the constraints that may limit their design. They only have so much money to spend, time to create the design, and they also need to consider cultural or societal norms. Usually, engineers need to balance these trade-offs as they optimize their solution. Next slide. Engineers also apply math and science concepts and practices as they design. Engineers call on what they know about the natural world to inform their designs. They also use mathematical tools as they design and test. The interconnectedness of the STEM disciplines can be very evident during engineering problem solving. Next slide. Engineers think innovatively, brainstorm and analyze multiple solutions, compare the effectiveness of various designs, and make informed recommendations about open-ended problems. The problems they tackle have multiple possible solutions, and the solution often depends upon the context. Youth should use knowledge and creativity to solve problems that are open-ended. They should be invited to bring their background experiences, cultures, and interests to the problem. The opportunity to design something truly unique makes engineering highly interesting and engaging for kids. Next slide. Engineers need to test their designs to see how they will work. They collect and analyze data to improve and revise solutions in an iterative process. Helping youth to think about how a design performed and how it might be further improved is an important role for educators. Another practice of engineering is persistence through failure. Real engineers know and embrace the idea that failure helps you learn what works. They learn from failure to revise and improve their designs. This requires perseverance and improving through multiple iterations. In most engineering design processes, an improve or iterate step is built right in. So youth know from the very beginning that they will get to try and try again, and they learn that persistence pays off. Engineers consider multiple ideas with multiple solutions. They also work in groups with multiple people. Teamwork is a central tenet of engineering. Engineers work together to bring a diversity of knowledge and perspectives to the problem. Communicating and negotiating effectively are important skills for teamwork. When youth engineer, the experience develops their ability to consider other people's perspectives, to argue from data and evidence, to compromise, and to select the best ideas. And finally, engaging in engineering design challenges can help youth to understand what engineering is and to see their own potential as engineers and problem solvers. Engaging in engineering design challenges help children to see themselves as engineers. Educators can develop these identities by engaging youth in authentic experiences and calling them and the work they do engineering. So as youth tackle engineering challenges, they will naturally engage in engineering practices. I'd urge you to help youth notice when they are engaging in these practices and connect the practices to the work that real engineers do. Over time and with experience, youth will build facility with these practices. And as they do, they will also start to develop an engineering mindset, an approach to productively solving problems that is similar to that of engineers. I want to point your attention in the chat box. We've put a couple links about where you can get some additional information in these resources, including these slides, that is provided by the Million Girl Moonshot and STEM Next group. And so if this is interesting or you'd like to use any of this information or learn more, there's a couple links that you can use to get just this information that I spoke about today. I thank you and look forward to learning more about the ways that you productively engage with your students to help them develop engineering mindsets.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cunningham, for sharing your insights regarding engineering mindset. Many of our Nebraska after-school programs offer exciting engineering opportunities for youth, and we appreciate learning more from you about your research and your experiences. We truly appreciate your time this morning. Next slide. Jody Grant, Anna Wishart, and Dr. Cunningham gave us a lot to think about this morning. Be sure to visit the forum on the conference website to start a discussion or join an existing discussion focused on what you've heard today. Remember, you get into the forum by going to the event hub where you've created your profile. Writing is a great way to process what you're thinking and learn from and with others. It's also a venue for sharing information and resources with other conference participants. The forum will be available for thinking together and connecting with others throughout the 3-day conference. I'm going to talk a little bit about the highlights for the day, things you don't want to miss. Thank you to our morning speakers who have taught us more about today's conference themes, equity and inclusion, and engineering mindset. Today's schedule includes 3 live sessions focused on these topics. There are 2 concurrent live sessions beginning at 10:30 a.m. Central Time. One is Engineering at Mars Base Camp with Click to Science. Dr. Sandra Freerichs, Nebraska Extension, will lead the session, which includes an implementation kit that will be mailed to participants after the conference. Remember, this session requires pre-registration and a $10 fee. Also at 10:30 is Educating Youth on the Science and Social Science of COVID using the Smithsonian's COVID-19, How Do I Protect Myself and Others? This session is led by Dr. Carol O'Donnell and Catherine Blanchard, both with the Smithsonian Science Education Center. The 3rd live session today begins at 1:00 p.m. Central Time. This session is called Creating Significant Moments of Impact. It is led by Drew Newland, Shane Pearson, and Mike Smith with Rabble Mill and the Bay Online. At 2:30 this afternoon Central Time, we invite you to have some fun and get to know other conference attendees during today's live networking event led by Anna Wishart, Beyond School Bells. Also, remember to visit the virtual lounge, the exhibit hall, and peruse the on-demand video library as your schedule allows. Next slide. I'd like to take one more opportunity to thank the conference sponsors, Verizon, STEM Next Opportunity Fund, Nebraska Environmental Trust, Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services, and the Mott Foundation. And one more slide, continuous improvement. Don't forget to complete the conference evaluation each day. We look forward to hearing your feedback, which will guide us as we plan future events. We will also be giving prizes for those of you who complete the evaluation at the end of each day and submit it to our team. See you at 10:30 for the first live conference session.